Introduction. My name is Snetha Badhan, and that's spelled SNETHA BADHAN. I am a public speaker, certified counsellor, survivor of abuse, and a carer. And I have the absolute pleasure of introducing my dearest friend, Patricia Bowerman, today. We connected around 2020, I believe, so it's been a good few years. And I'm happy to announce that Patricia has written her new book called What's at the End of Your Fork. So I'm really excited to talk further about that. And more recently, Patricia had a brilliant interview with the bowler hat farmer. So those who know who he is, he knows what he's talking about with Patricia. So just a little bit of background. Patricia is from America with British roots, and originally in America, she worked in Hollywood as a prop designer or prop maker, apologies. But you moved here 30 years ago, I believe, Patricia.
That's right.
And you've been here since, which makes you now 75 years old. So that's exciting to know. Right. So, bit of background on Patricia's experiences. She is a wellness coach, public speaker, and more recently, a fantastic author. So, I do highly encourage you to have a look into Patricia's book. If you could show us your book a little bit there, Patricia. There it
It
is.
is
A fantastic
available
one.
on Amazon
Hmm.
in many
Fantastic.
countries.
Fantastic. I'm so excited for you, Patricia. So, first question is, how did you come to the title of What's at the End of Your Fork?
That's a great question. I love that question. The book was originally titled Food the Way It Was. It was originally a digital download, and when I would speak at events and have that digital download, people say, "Oh, do you have it in print? Do you have it in print?" And January, I started wearing my grandmother's fork when I was out because the message I felt was not being received. I would get eye rolls, people would sort of glaze over. I could tell it was just too much information.
Mm.
And I wasn't having the conversations with the people that I wanted to have the conversation with. So I started wearing this fork to see what the reactions would be, especially on the train. And people would say, "Is that a fork?" And I'd say, "Yes, what's on the end of your fork?" And then we would have the conversation.
Wow.
And I attended an integrated personalized medicine conference in London last week, a big 3-day international conference. And I thought, just several things sort of converged. People saying, "Do you have it in print?" 3,000 people at this conference that I'll be speaking to. I need to
Wow.
really prepare myself. So I got stuck in, got this printed the Saturday before the Wednesday when I left. Um,
Brilliant. Mhm.
and it paid off really well. Wonderful conversations. And the thing about the book is uh, each chapter stands alone.
Yeah. Mhm.
So they can
Absolutely.
start in with foraging, start in with fermenting. If they want to know a little bit more about what is in the food that's on the end of our fork, there's a chapter about that.
Absolutely.
And
Mhm.
loads of recipes. One of the chapters is called Organics Too Expensive and I Don't Have Time to Cook.
Yeah.
Well, I've done all the head scratching. I've made it easy with 17 recipes that are nutrient dense. And if you eat
Brilliant.
nutrient dense without the toxins, it can't be nutrient dense with the toxins. So
Yeah. Yeah.
there's a clue
Makes
there.
sense.
You feel better, you eat less, so you save on your food bill.
So I'm going to just run down the chapters of your book, but just before I continue on, Tricia, you're not quite central to me. So is there any chance you could put yourself to the center a little bit? Because I don't want to
Yeah.
lose you. Yeah.
Is that I look central to me?
Oh,
Am I?
okay. It's gone. It's a bit more to the right on my side. So,
Mm.
okay. Do you want us just to continue then? Yep. Okay. Right. So thank you very much for sharing with us a little bit more about the title of your book. And as you said, that's regarding your grandma, and that's her book. So that's absolutely fascinating. Right. So I just will mention the titles of the chapters, and then Patricia has picked three that we're going to talk about today. So chapter one is foraging, which I'm so excited to know more about. Patricia will be going into detail with that today. Chapter two is fermentation and sourdough. We love our sourdough. Chapter three is organic versus, and this is what I cannot pronounce. Would you mind pronouncing that, please?
Glyphosate.
Yes, there you go. I seem to get it wrong all the time.
Glyphosate. Yeah, a
State.
lot of people struggle.
Yeah, it's an odd one, isn't it? There's a silent PH in there that I forget about. And then the ongoing chapters are then chapter four, which is hydration. Chapter five, cellular communication. That sounds absolutely interesting. Chapter six, GLP, and that's quite commonly spoken about these days, but do have a read of a book for that chapter. And chapter seven, which you've mentioned already, is organic. It's too expensive, and I don't have time to cook. So that's kind of a bit of the world and the whirlwind that we kind of live in these
Mm.
days. And then you summarize at the end with some fantastic recipes in, well, many recipes here that everybody could join in and do. So, okay, let's go to chapter one, Patricia. And that is, bear with me, foraging. And I'm excited to hear about this. So please go ahead. Please tell us more.
Well, all my life, I've wanted to step out into my back garden and be able to just pick some herbs when I'm cooking. I grew up in hot climates, and that didn't happen. So, living in England now, I've got a load of lovely herbs. I can just step out the back door. Further on from that, I can walk outdoors, go for a short walk, and I've got nettles, elderflowers, soon elderberries, hawthorn berries soon. The wild garlic's just finished. Um, so many cleavers in my back garden, and I didn't even have to plant them. It's phenomenal what we have, what our not too distant ancestors relied on for nutrients.
Absolutely.
And we've been told for years that they're weeds, many of them, that we need to
Yeah.
spray them. And last year I bought some limb loppers because the elderberries, clusters and clusters of elderberries, were so far out of reach. Nobody else was bothered about them. And I just like the
Brilliant.
elderberry syrup. Elderberry has a unique property that stops a virus replicating.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
Need
Mhm.
to have that on hand in the winter months.
Absolutely. Can I
But
just can I just take a little step back? There's something really important you've mentioned there. It's about what the elders, your elders, our elders used to do before, and how they did this foraging and were able to make these syrups and teas. It's absolutely important for us to remember that they did it themselves. Yeah,
yes, there was
and
always that old lady in the village that people would go to. This is before doctors. And they would go
yeah,
to this old lady in the village and, oh, I've got this back pain or this scratchy throat. And she'd go outside and she would pick a few herbs and mix them up and say, do this. It- and that doesn't go back all that far.
no,
Because my
yeah,
grandmother, in fact, I make a mention of her in the beginning of the book and a picture of her riding side saddle in Montana just after the turn of the 20th century. That was quite
wow,
bold. That was
wow,
quite bold.
absolutely.
But I
Mhm.
remember being 3 years old and out in her back garden, pulling a carrot out of the dirt, rinse it off in the tap, and eat it. I didn't scrub it or peel it. It was fine. It was normal. And my
Yeah,
grandmother made her own bread. I remember helping her pluck chickens, and I was given a lighted match to singe the feathers.
wow,
Uh, so many things that we did, and to think, I'm alive to tell this story. I don't feel that old, and I'm certainly not the only one laughed, and my British friends remember their parents growing
Yeah.
their food after the war.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we just need to
And
go back a little bit.
well, exactly that. And it's not actually very long ago, but there's things that you've just mentioned there, people would have not heard of whatsoever, about things that, the elders did. And I just wanted to ask a little bit further, like with the nettles. I mean, everyone's absolutely, they run from nettles. Obviously, they sting. And is it dock leaf that could help with the sting? Have I pronounced that right?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Yeah, so even that, and this is just a little brief example. I knew about that years ago, but something of that happened, and I was looking for the dock leaf, and people were surprised on what I was doing first of all, and then the fact that I was explaining it to them, and it did help, but people didn't know, and I was like, well, this is odd how things have just kind of got diluted over the years of just some very simple things. But yeah, if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit more about nettle tea and how you um, get the nettle tea, what's the best way to handle it, and how you prepare it and what you do with it.
It's
Thank
so
you.
much more than nettle tea. It's
Yeah.
way beyond nettle tea. Nettle crisps are my favorite. All you do is find nettles. They're everywhere in this part of the country.
Yeah.
I take the top two, like two or three pairs of leaves because the insects are nibbling away because they know the nutrient density of the nettles.
Mhm.
So I want the nice fresh ones. Just clip them off with scissors, fill a bowl, take it home and drizzle olive oil on it, a pinch of salt. I have an air fryer with three mesh shelves so the air can circulate, or you can do it in the oven, 160 for 8 to 9 minutes. Done.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
just eat,
Hmm.
eat, eat. More iron than spinach.
Wow.
They
Wow.
taste buttery. I don't know why. They do. They're
Wow.
gorgeous. I put them in my sourdough bread when I'm making it. You can make nettle soup. I do a nettle pesto. Um, and once you heat them or chop them, they lose the sting.
Well, that's it. So when you're saying when you cut it off,
Well,
that loses
I'm cutting off the stem. I'm not chopping the leaves up.
right. So when you cut off from the stem, is that where it loses its sting then?
No, you have to
Oh,
chop the leaves. You have to
right. So
chop or
once you've
heat the
chopped the
leaves.
leaves, yeah. So just to handle it carefully initially when you're cutting off from the stem, but once the leaves are cut, that's it. You're good to go, and then you can handle
Interesting
them.
story I learned from a 6-year-old. I was telling his mom about nettle leaves, and he overheard our conversation. They live on a farm. So he
Mhm.
shot out the door and came back with a bowl full of nettles and made his nettle crisps. And I had been taking each little leaf off, each little leaf, and putting it in the bowl meticulously. He just chucked them in stems and all, so I do too.
Oh, bless.
So easy. So easy.
It's good
So
to use the whole lot. See, just that example alone, it's absolutely fantastic that you've got the ability to do that. And I'm glad you're here today with us, encouraging people to give it a go. And I wanted to ask a little bit about ivy leaves, if you don't mind.
ivy everywhere. I
Yeah,
have
yeah,
not encountered poison ivy in all these years, so I don't know where it is. I'm not afraid of it. But ivy leaves have are a natural um, surfactant. They have saponin
right,
in them, which the
right,
word soap came from. So
right.
I can out my door with my bowl and pick off about 30 ivy leaves. I go for, fairly good sized ones. Get
Yeah.
home and tear them into little pieces, a couple inches, and then put them in one of those mesh veg bags, that you get at
Oh, yeah.
supermarket,
Mhm.
and just chuck them in. Tie it really securely. I didn't one time, and I had leaves all over
Oh,
my clothes.
yeah.
Tie it
Mhm.
securely and just chuck it in the machine. I give it a
Brilliant.
bash with a wooden spoon or something first, just to help release. I love to wash my bedclothes in ivy leaves and just
Wow.
smell that as it's very faint, but just a lovely fragrance. It's
Oh,
wonderful.
and look at that. You've got everything there in with nature. It's right
I love
there.
it. I
And
love
that
it.
sounds absolutely fantastic. So thank you very much for giving us some overview of that chapter. And again, I do encourage everyone to have a read of the book to get further information. So I'll go on to now chapter 2, and that's fermentation and sourdough. So I personally know a little bit about sourdough because I did do one of your classes and I really enjoyed that. So thank you very much. And we started from scratch with that. And you can speak a bit further about that. But sauerkraut, oh, I absolutely love sauerkraut, but I really haven't tried fermenting it at all yet. So please go ahead and tell us more about the two.
Well, sauerkraut has been a staple in Eastern European countries for generations, and they have lower incidence of all sorts of illnesses. So basically, nature provides us with so much of what we need.
Absolutely.
And cabbage, I'm sorry, I keep fiddling my laptop. Um, Cabbages
Yeah.
are one. They have a unique bacteria on every leaf. You can't see it, but
Hmm.
when you chop it and submerge it in its own liquid with a
Yeah.
little salt, it
Hmm.
comes to life. So basically, you've got to have organic cabbages. I'm looking for some right now. They're hard to find, but you got to do it. And you chop, and I have a video that's mentioned in the book that you can access. There's a QR code. So you chop very, very fine the cabbage in a big, big bowl. You might want to set aside a couple of hours. And the finer you chop it, the easier it's going to be because you need to mash it with your hands. You need to massage it, pound it with a dowel, a wooden dowel. But as you do that, you'll see the juices released. Now, if you sprinkle it with salt, leave it for an hour, it's much easier to get those juices to release. So that's one of your hours. You
That's
go do something
brilliant.
else. Then you
So
come back.
yeah, so I've tried. I haven't fermented it, but I've definitely enjoyed the shredded fermented cabbage. But I've also tried the cabbage leaves. So that's also fermented in a big barrel. I've had some good European friends that showed me that process. But yeah, you take the leaves off and then you wrap. You could do a vegetarian or meat version, but you put that as a stuffing. You wrap it and then you cook it out. So I mean, it's quite tart, but I mean, I like that. But it's absolutely fantastic and fresh. And I know what's at the end of my fork, so it's so good to do that. So yeah, thank you very much for sharing the process then. It'd be nice to see some videos of you doing more of these, of
Well,
you teaching. Yeah, that
there's
would be
one in
great.
the book. I mean, there is one in the book. And
Oh,
I like to
brilliant. Ah,
ferment my sauerkraut for 4 weeks. And you put it in a fermenting crock. And all those
wow. Yeah.
instructions are there. If you
Mhm.
find that's too tart, that's a sign your gut is out of balance. So
Oh,
you need to start slowly and you'll retrain your taste buds.
absolutely. So does sauerkraut fall into, because you've got prebiotic, post, no, prebiotic, postbiotic. I think, have I got that right?
Probiotic is what you're looking for.
Probiotic,
Probiotic.
yeah. There's three, isn't there? I heard anyway. Yeah, I don't know. But there's several different types of how it's going to help support your gut. So could you tell, do you know where the sauerkraut cabbage falls into?
Well, when it's fermented, I'm not familiar with fermenting the whole leaf and then and doing something. I do have done stuffed cabbage leaves, but I didn't ferment them first. So I'd like to know, you can tell me about that later on.
Oh, God, yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so cabbage has a unique bacteria on it.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
when you ferment it, so that the first week you can see the process that is creating some bubbles.
Wow.
And that
Yeah.
lasts about a week. And then they go away, and then it's different bacteria. So these
Mhm.
bacteria are, I mean, they're genius. They're smarter than we are.
Absolutely.
And so at the end of 4 weeks, uh, it's a whole different process. So you've got the fiber, you've got the essential bacteria.
Mhm.
They all work together for the prebiotic and the probiotic.
There you go. Yeah,
And then if you eat,
absolutely.
so you want to eat about a tablespoon with two
Okay.
or three meals a day. That helps with
Brilliant.
your digestion, helps with
Absolutely.
your immune system. So But
It's
don't
it's
buy it.
good. It's
Don't
absolutely good stuff. Mhm.
don't buy it. Don't buy it. If you buy commercial sauerkraut, they have to pasteurize so it has a shelf life, and that kills all the bacteria.
So you're not getting the best quality out of it when it's
You
store bought.
no, you
Yeah,
just it's just
absolutely.
for fun,
Yeah.
but you're not getting the
Mhm.
bacteria because they're all dead now. It
Yeah.
needs to be
Mhm.
alive. So when you finish the
Yeah,
process, then you keep it in the fridge. The cold
absolutely.
slows it down, and I can spend a couple hours making sauerkraut that will last me a year.
Brilliant. Brilliant. See, look at that. It will last you a year. So there we go. We've got some good sauerkraut advice and recipes in the book as well of how to create your own to know what is at the end of your book. So I'm more excited now to talk about the sourdough bread because I could imagine sourdough bread, put some sauerkraut on there as well if you want. So please
Well,
tell us more.
one of my favorite sandwiches is toasted sourdough bread with mozzarella cheese or cheese of your
Brilliant.
choice, and then
Uh-huh.
sauerkraut on top. So toast it first because you don't want to heat the
Uh-huh.
sauerkraut. It's like a meat-free Reuben sandwich. It's gorgeous.
Wow, look at that. Hmm.
But
I
anyway,
I
more about
remember even quite some time ago, you mentioned about your actual recipe for the sourdough, and I just wanted to bring some light to that because there's a lot of recipes out there, but what you found is something very interesting, Patricia. So if you would like to dig in a little bit deeper about the differences in your recipe and where you found it.
Well, I was looking for organic flour near me. I didn't have time to drive 45 minutes to go collect it at the shop I normally did. Anyway, so this guy pops up on my phone, 10 minutes away. I called in. 2 hours later, I left with my mind blown
Yeah,
and took his course many, many
brilliant.
times. Have sent, I don't know, well over 100 people in to do his course over the years. But the flour he used was very eye-opening. Now,
Yeah.
he was born celiac,
Oh,
diagnosed as a young
wow.
child,
Right.
nearly died as a teen,
Oh,
79 now.
right,
He's been
right.
teaching these
Wow.
classes for 10 years because he wanted pizza. He wanted to find a way to make pizza dough that was not just cardboard. He wanted it to be nutritious.
Yeah,
So he discovered uh, sprouting the whole grain.
brilliant.
So first of
Wow.
all, it's not sprayed with glyphosate. Now it's
Yeah,
sprouted for 24 hours. That modifies the starch so that diabetics can eat it and not have an insulin spike, and the rest of us can eat all we want and not gain weight. And then he stone grinds it, so he dries it, stone
brilliant.
grinds it. Most flour today is roller milled.
Right.
Remember that. Start reading labels. That came in with the Industrial Revolution. Bad for us, bad for our health, our digestion. That's where white bread came from. White bread
So
is not good.
So just going back there a second, where you said it was stone ground, I remember seeing that in India. They had these huge two planks of stone and a handle on top, and I have actually seen it, but I never knew the huge importance of it, of
Importance.
the difference of using it as well, having stone ground flour. So I mean, we're okay to share some information about that in our comments if anyone's interested, or just let us know
Yes.
about wanting to know more about the flour. But
So
that is
stone
absolutely
grinding,
amazing.
it
Mm,
shreds that wheat. It's rough and jagged, so it
right.
takes our
Yeah.
bodies 2 to 3 hours to digest it, but it's also
Yeah.
getting that payoff of the vitamins and minerals and the amino acids that our body utilizes.
Absolutely.
Roller milled, we digest it in about 30 seconds. That's why you can eat a gorgeous sandwich when you're out, and a half hour later you're hungry. Now you go get a piece of cake, and that's rubbish flour
And
as
then just
well. And
snowballs from
you're always
there.
hungry, and
And
yeah,
that sounds like that also causes a spike. You mentioned about insulin and things like that. So there's a lot there. It's quite complicated, actually, that people aren't even aware of because we don't always think about that. So that is huge. So the other quick question was when you started to make the actual sourdough bread and your recipe, I think, please let me know if I'm wrong in this, but did the recipe you actually use, is it Egyptian, Middle Eastern type of recipe, really old? I
It's
think you
old
mentioned
because
something.
sourdough bread is old. We go back
Right,
Roman and Egyptian in times. Now it's
right.
not their sourdough bread recipe. It's the fact that they
Hmm.
thrived on wheat,
Hmm.
and wheat is now this big enemy.
Right.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
Something's changed.
Roman and Egyptian armies of 60,000 men oftentimes only had wheat. They didn't always get to bake it into bread, but they would
Right,
grind it and mix it with some form of liquid into a
right.
gruel and eat it. The
Oh, I've heard
fortunate
of that.
ones, the fortunate ones would get to bake it into bread, but
Yeah,
people didn't have ovens. The ovens were communal ovens. So you had to be
right,
somewhere where there was an oven, it was outdoors, some sort,
right.
and it had to be fired up. You didn't turn a
Wow.
knob. You had to put wood in and get a fire going. So they would bake. Lots of people would bake at the same time,
Hmm.
and we see sourdough bread now, the artisan breads with all the decorations, the decorative cuts on the top. Well, that came from the communal ovens where people would
Wow.
take their loaf of bread and
Uh-huh.
they would put their mark on it by the way they slashed the top to allow the steam to escape so they could identify their loaf of bread. It's
Oh,
just so
that's how it
fascinating.
came to that. That is
Mhm.
fascinating. I never knew that.
But you talked
Wow.
about the traditional recipe. Well, the recipe is flour, water, and salt.
Right.
There's
And
no,
none of the rest that usually is listed because the lists are endless, aren't
no.
they?
And
So,
people, traditionally women, would have their starter, and you never use up all of your starter. You take out what you need to bake your bread, and you would give some away, and that's keeping that starter
wow.
going because you get a
Wow.
good lively one. You keep it
Hmm.
going. But now, today, we make so many other things besides bread from that sourdough starter. Once
Hmm.
it loses its oomph, we make crackers that are eat all you want. They're so good for you. A sourdough cake, sourdough crumpets. You have not had a crumpet till you've had a sourdough crumpet.
I've not had the opportunity to try a crumpet, but however, I do recall having one of your beautiful muffins, and I had blueberry in there, I think, wasn't it? You had some
Maybe.
fruits in
Oh,
there. Yeah, yeah. This was about a year and a half ago, but yeah, I remember definitely having that, and I've tried your sourdough bread as well, and it's absolutely delicious. So, oh, thank you. I feel so privileged that I tried the actual breads and well, minus the crumpets, but I've tried everything. And you taught me how to make the starter, so it is possible. There's lots of information out there, but it's just nice to know a bit more about the history. Is what Patricia shared with us today.
well, I'd
So,
like to say when you see artisan sourdough, maybe the baker is at an outdoor fair or something. Ask them
right,
what flour they use.
okay,
Ask
yeah.
them if they use organic flour. That's the first question. The second question, is the flour stone ground? Chances are they don't know.
No.
And then ask them how much whole grain wheat flour is used. I was
Hmm.
at a fair recently and they had a sign on their stall, 5% whole grain. So that meant it was 95% white flour that has
Right,
no nutrients. It's all starch.
right. But it's people's palates have changed over the years. I mean, that's sad as well. So tasting real bread, sourdough bread, it's going to be very different for people's palate. The
Well,
flavors
people
change
shop by
completely.
price. It's more expensive to use the whole grain, stone
Wow,
ground. It costs more than the cheap white, which is why they made the cheap white because they it was all profit then. But the bread that
absolutely.
I make, a 600-gram loaf, costs about a pound.
Well, there you go. And
You're,
you're able to batch cook it as well. So
I bake
yeah,
twice a month, 3 loaves at a time, two go in the freezer. And
and there you
a baker can't do that.
are.
It's
Right.
the Chorleywood method made here, a loaf of bread churned out every 20 minutes.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
absolutely.
what's on the end of your fork?
So, what exactly that? So, I mean, in summary, at the end of the day, We'll talk a little bit further about that towards the end, but let's speak a little bit about chapter 3 first, and then it would be nice to talk further about costs and things like that of how people are eating in 2026. So, chapter 3, organic versus glyphosate. Did I say it right this time?
Glyphosate. The pH is an F. pH is F.
Glyphosate. Glyphosate.
Glyphosate.
Right. So, where would you like to begin? I'll pass it to you, Patricia.
What can I say without getting us in trouble? But
Ah, yeah, freedom of speech, not.
I I I speak to people even at this conference I attend with these top natural medicine medical people, asking them how do they help their clients avoid glyphosate so that their protocols can work better, and they're like, they don't know what I'm talking about.
Wow.
So glyphosate is sprayed on crops to kill weeds,
Right,
and wheat gets at least two sprays. Nobody's monitoring how many times any farmer is going to spray when they see weeds pop up.
right,
It does not dissipate,
right.
as you might have heard. It's not factual. Any liquid that's sprayed on crops lands on the soil.
Yeah. Mhm.
Any liquid on the soil penetrates the soil. It penetrates about 6 inches. So the worms leave.
Oh, wow.
What's the
Yeah.
big deal about that?
Mhm.
Well, worms ex excrete nutrients in the microbiome of the soil, which is how we
Right.
get the nutrients in the crops. It's one of
Absolutely.
those
Yeah.
things, miracles of nature that man can't replicate. So now the worms are gone. They have to add the nutrients in synthetically, which our body doesn't always recognize.
Okay.
And
Right.
it's drawn up through the roots. So the whole life of this crop, as it's developing,
Hmm.
the vitamins, minerals, and the amino acids are greatly depleted,
Right.
greatly depleted. A tomato, for instance, has about 15% of the lycopene it had a couple decades ago or a decade ago.
15%
Lycopene is a great
from,
preventative of a major disease that we see unfolding catastrophically at the moment.
right.
I
Yep, I
won't
hear you.
mention it.
Yep.
Now, it also, it fortunately, people will be watching the recording and they can rewind and write this one down. It destroys the shikimate pathway.
Shikimate pathway.
That's the communication pathway for the
Yep.
cells to
Hmm.
say, make vitamin K, vitamin C, it's time to make leaves or flowers, send the roots down deeper, whatever. All those instructions for the creation of the crop. So we were told, well, humans don't have a shikimate pathway, so glyphosate's not harmful for humans. Hopefully your listeners realize now that we have good vital bacteria inside and outside our bodies. Those bacteria, the good bacteria, outnumber our human cells 9 to 1. We have
Wow.
9 times more bacteria cells in and on our body than human cells. Our
Yeah.
eyes, our nose, our mouth, our throat, our ears have vital bacteria. Our pits all over and
Yeah.
inside.
Hmm.
Now, our GI tract, we're learning about the connection between the gut and the brain and how everything functions, and so much, Hippocrates told us all disease begins in the gut. So, about 54% of those vital good bacteria are in our GI tract, which starts with our mouth, goes right the way
Yeah.
through, and
Hmm.
the bulk of them are right down here in our what we know as our gut.
Yeah.
They have a shikimate pathway.
Yeah. Hmm.
So I
Shikimate
hope I
pathway.
hope the penny drops. Now think leaky gut. Now think brain fog.
Wow. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So you destroy the mesh in your gut, which is those cell junctions in our gut are not like this. It's a mesh designed
Yeah.
to keep the good stuff in and the bad stuff out. You
Yeah.
destroy that.
Mhm.
Now the bad stuff's getting in and the good stuff's getting out.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So if you have
It's not what
any
it's not working. Everything is completely been uh, oh,
sabotaged,
yeah. And I mean, there's some very interesting points you're making then, and people have heard of it a lot, but the reasons of it is what you're explaining here. So leaky gut, so many people have heard of that now, but this is giving you a good idea of like how people's health, well, lack of health, isn't it? They're not in
it's
good
la
health.
it's
Yeah.
lack of health. Our body's
Yeah.
designed to heal itself. In fact, our um, front line of defense is glutathione, which I'm sure a lot of people have heard of, especially during the lockdown days.
Yeah.
Glutathione as a supplement, people were buying that, which it helps a
Yeah.
little bit, maybe 10 to 40%.
Right.
But our body makes glutathione. Most people don't
Yeah.
realize that. It's our master antioxidant.
Well, there you go.
It
Yeah.
detoxes our cells and
Mhm.
goes back and repairs the damage like nothing else.
Exactly.
But our body makes it from glycine, cysteine, and glutamate. There's an exchange that happens there. So glyphosate hijacks that glycine molecule. So now it's dumbing down our immune response.
And then that's where it's all talked about of people being allergic to this, that, and the other,
So many people tell me,
sensitivity.
one of my talks is what's so bad about bread, and
Mm,
uh, and then I'll have a loaf of bread for people to try a little bit, and I'll ask them, "Do you enjoy bread?" "Oh no, bread doesn't like me. I'm gluten sensitive and all
yeah,
this." Try this bread. Oh, that feels really nice. They're not gluten intolerant. They're glyphosate intolerant, as they should
there
be.
you go. Yeah, yeah. And
And the
that says a
method,
lot.
I can just
That,
add here,
yeah,
the
sure.
method that I make this sourdough bread is a 3-day fermentation.
Ah,
It's
yes,
just in the fridge. I'm not doing anything with it. But
yeah,
that significantly modifies the gluten so that Michael, who's celiac, could thrive on it,
yeah.
and people who think they're gluten intolerant are thriving on it. So
Brilliant.
you eliminate the toxins
Hmm.
and then use this traditional method of making bread that almost like pre-digests it. It's such a win. It's a
And it's
big win.
so it's such a simple thing when you think about it, of how the ingredients of knowing what's at the end of your fork, compared to all the things that are thrown into your body and causing havoc clearly on that. So when we're talking about the food quality matters, there's a point there you're making in your book. This is it. Where is the quality of the food? And when you mentioned about the soil's not there's not enough nutrition. It's not nutritional soil, is it? Am I saying that right?
Oh, it's
Um,
dead. The soil's
it's that,
dead. There's a
yeah,
lot being grown
yeah,
hydroponically now
hmm,
because it's cheaper.
yeah, yeah,
Water doesn't have the same nutrients that soil does. It's, and again, they're adding stuff in synthetically. Oh, we're just, a couple decades ago,
yeah.
we were exposed to about 80,000 different toxins. Now it's upwards of 300,000. Our body is not designed to deal with that.
Mm. And then don't forget there's micro plastics as well. So there's a lot more information coming out about that. How on earth we got to a point where things got changed from glass to plastic. It's just things like that. And oh, there's a lot
Well,
there. There's a
I
lot
think
there, there,
we
there.
can illustrate it with that loaf of white bread at the Industrial Revolution.
Right.
So they learned to fractionate wheat so they could separate out all those components. And one thing they extracted was the natural omega oils, which they sold off to the pharmaceutical and cosmetic companies because they got a lot more money from them than they could from a loaf of bread. So what was left was just that white starch. They made white bread from nice and fluffy, but they sliced it for us. So they're always marketing to our
Yeah.
sense of convenience. So when somebody
There
offers
you
you
go.
something quick and easy. No, there's a gimmick behind it. Don't fall for it. Oh gosh, and if we could grow any of our food, if you could grow tomatoes, your neighbor grew courgettes, and we all swapped like they used to, we'd be healthier, happier.
It's that sense of community that's gone as well. So as you're saying, people used to exchange what they've done to somebody else has done or what they've grown. So that sense of community is gone. It's all everything's about selling, it's all about the shops these days, and we know about them,
Well, we're so busy now, we don't have
yeah,
time. We've lost
we've
time.
lost time. Yeah,
But
exactly that.
I tell
Mhm.
you, my bread baking days, because I'm watching, if you were to walk in my house into my kitchen, you see jars of starter at different stages, because I like to watch them and smell them, and um, you get to know your starter. It's a living thing.
Yeah,
It's not just
absolutely.
waiting for you to want to do something. No, you've got to feed it before, and it's time and temperature sensitive, and it really is a relationship, because we're in control to a point, but we have to respect what's in it. Same making sauerkraut, same making kimchi. Any of these live, living foods, we've got to understand
Have a
them.
lot of respect, actually.
Mm,
This is
mm, mm.
it's fascinating that our elders across the world figured this out without the internet, without, all of that. How did they figure it out?
It,
That's a whole topic on its own,
it was
and it's
passed
worldwide.
down, and they didn't
Yeah,
have refrigeration.
no, no,
They had
absolutely.
they
Yeah,
would they would bury food in make a cellar of, essentially, in the ground to
yeah.
store food,
Mhm.
and their survival depended on. They can, like, oh, bad luck, run down to Tesco.
Well, even just thinking about the Indian cuisine or Ayurvedic approach,
Yeah.
spices play a huge part as well of how food was kept. So there's a lot more to it, and there's obviously a lot that actually changed over the years in how people eat food in India as well now. Down to the type of rice, down to the oils. I mean, there's so much to talk about. But let's get back to basics. Know what you're eating. Read the labels. I mean, for me personally, every time I read a label and there's too many things on there, that's a bit questionable. The only thing I would say could have a lot of things in there is a blend of spices, but they individually all tell you the spices in there. And again, it's best to go organic. However, these days, I don't know what I'm reading. I don't know what that is.
Well,
What
sugar
is
has
that
so many
ingredient in
different
there?
names now. They've cleverly
Oh,
disguised sugar so we can't identify. We're looking for the word sugar, and
yeah,
it's all manner of things. And there was something
yeah.
else they've renamed. Yeah.
Oh, the sweeteners.
Oh,
There
the
was, yeah,
sweeteners.
sweeteners.
That's
They've
right.
renamed that as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe so. But even that, look at what sweeteners are really about. I mean, we won't go into it today. I don't even know if we can, but have a real think about what sweeteners really are about. And sugar's a huge topic on its own. Again, there was a process. I know, again, going back to India, they call it gur, and there's a process to go through, and that's more nearer to the natural form of what sugar cane is, rather than what we know sugar to be today in that packet. So, like, there's huge talks even about sugar itself because it had its place. Back
Well,
our
and
elders used it in
that
a
brings up an
certain way.
interview. That brings up an
Sorry,
interview I did several years ago. The
right?
big fat lie
Oh,
about
right.
fat. That's another interview.
Oh, yeah,
Fat,
yeah,
salt, sugar, you know, th-
absolutely.
they tell us it's all bad, but it's all essential. But what type of fat, what type of salt, what type of sugar, they're all necessary.
Well, I would agree with them saying it's all bad when you don't know what it is that you've got. What salt is that, or what sugar is that? So when they're saying all bad, I actually agree. It is actually all bad because it's not what we were supposed to have. It's
No,
changed.
but
It's
we need
modified.
to
It's
not make fat a bad word. When you avoid
right.
fat, your body hoards it.
Yeah. Mhm. And it's about the
Dementia,
right facts. Yeah,
I think dementia is
absolutely.
maybe indirectly linked, but it's linked to the fat-free diet.
So there's going to be a generation of, because I remember years ago they did this huge push and they were talking about, I remember this, you see, well, I was much younger, and they were talking about Indian cuisine, and a lot of fat was used, in particular clarified butter. And, they made a huge thing about that, not to use it to reduce fat. So if you think about it, that's a good few decades where people have gone into fat free, but instead there's fats that are offered that aren't real fats, that don't agree with the body, but they're still there.
Well, they're
But it's
probably
shocking, isn't
processed.
it? And then now look at the generations of how people's health, what it's become, if that makes sense. So it's
Well,
crazy, isn't it?
it started with Ansel Keys, I think, in the 30s or 40s. He had
Right.
devised, sort of stumbled upon,
Ah,
something that looked like lard. And
ah,
so he thought, I've got an opportunity here. He started
right.
telling people to stop eating lard and eat his product, which he put a little food coloring in it, so it looked like butter.
Oh
That was the
gosh, yeah.
birth of margarine. He got everyone eating margarine, saying it's better for your health, for your heart health, and all this. And but heart health continued to climb, and he said, "Oh no, keep going, keep going." Today,
Um,
you walk in the market, you've got all your 0% fat yogurts and butters, and that's that's it's just awful. Margarine is like one molecule away from plastic. Your body
yeah.
doesn't digest it and it doesn't eliminate all the bad stuff. Oftentimes it hoards stuff that it can't identify because it doesn't know what to do with it.
So what's fascinating is that I came across what you just said there many years ago, but it wasn't talked about.
No, it's
And
not
I just
talked
want to
about.
bring some attention to that. You've been looking into this for very many years at the end of the day, decades, and you've been on your own journey through it, and you've had to learn as you've gone through it yourself of what's what. But it's only now it's starting to surface somewhat. We're still quite restricted in the UK of what we could say, but generally speaking, like now people are having that bit more of awareness. But it's harder to find the organic products or know exactly where everything's come from, or even down to the soil. Things have gotten so far damaged now, so it's literally it's trying to find
Well,
everything. So
we
yeah,
have to
so
ask questions. I'm
yeah,
on a
ask
first name
questions.
basis with the
Absolutely
produce guy at my local shop. I'll say we're on WhatsApp, and he
brilliant.
enlightens me about the bovar that was an issue,
Mm,
and the
absolutely, yeah,
appeal thing that they were trying to
yeah,
push. And
yeah.
so ask questions. It's fun. It's it's so
And
fun.
they
You meet
do
interesting
what
people.
what I found, like I love, absolutely love farm shops. And these days they've got like a whole selection of a lot more uh home cooked products they've got there. But also, you get the calf, so you get to try the products while you're there as well. But from what I could tell over the years, most of them actually know what we're asking. Not saying that they can deliver what we're looking for all the time. Depends on where you go, but they do know. They know quite a lot. Very, very
Well,
clever.
I'm going to
Yeah.
contrast that because when I see a farm shop, I pull in and I look for some fresh produce.
Yeah,
I normally go for the broccoli and say, "Oh, this is most beautiful broccoli. What farm is this from?"
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah, well, the answer might shock you because they say, "Oh, or well, it's from the Bristol market." It's not from a farm. It's sprayed with glyphosate like everything else. You're just paying a little more
mass
because it's in a
produced.
nice little wooden
Yeah,
box and it looks like it was
yeah.
just pulled out of the dirt.
Well, that's the thing. Sorry, I just want to say that you're in the south west,
So
and I'm actually in the west side of Scotland. So we're both on the west, but we're just further apart.
I'm glad to
And I
hear
do,
that about that
yeah.
Scotland. So they're telling you that their produce in the farm shops is organic or
Oh,
not
not well,
sprayed.
no, not all of them. No, no, no. They, I mean, what I meant was that when I ask those questions, they know why I'm asking it, and I've had some very good conversations with the owners. So, and they can't always get what they want either, and they're struggling to get
Yeah.
cleaner products as well.
Well, they
So
only supply
yeah,
what we buy. So I tell people to let them know what you want and don't settle for less.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the good thing is they at least they're open, the ones that, are willing to be open. But a lot of the people that I've spoken to, there's not a lot actually. I've only know a few farm shops actually at the moment. But I always ask them, is it local? Is it from the local farms? Um, and then more. Some of them are very honest and they just say, well, it's British, and but it doesn't guarantee just because it's labeled as British that it's from UK.
Well,
So that would be a thing.
local doesn't mean it's free of glyphosate.
No,
Look,
and then
if
that's when it
local's
adds further.
toxic, it's
Yeah,
still toxic.
yeah,
We
exactly.
we have to ask if it's been sprayed. I will buy from a farmer who says he doesn't spray. Organic certification is very expensive and that drives the price up. I want to support the small independent farmers. Uh, Mark Byford, the bowler hat farmer, started the Food
Yeah.
Finders Hub,
Yes, I remember.
foodfindershub.org.
Yeah,
So you can click there, put in your postcode, and it will tell you who's growing around you, but you still have to ask if it's sprayed.
absolutely. Absolutely. So it's the importance of conversation and fingers crossed they're going to be open and honest, and which is what we hope for with people. So thank you for sharing all that. These have been absolutely fantastic conversations. There's so much information in your amazing book as well. We've got a few more minutes left, and I thought maybe we could have a little discussion about costs. And so, if you won't mind, I'll just sort of start off with a little thing, and then please feel free to speak further. Now, these days, quick food, fast fast food takeaways, these sort of things. Now, everybody has seen that those prices are horrific these days. What can you buy these days for 10 to 15 pound for one meal? Then people obviously speak about the costs of buying cleaner products and obviously taking the time to cook yourself, which you can bulk cook, and as Patricia explains in her book. But here's the thing, you're going to get more hungry after having the fast foods, as you've mentioned, Patricia, haven't you? So it's like weighing it out and using common sense. So that is what my little piece to say about costs and time. But yeah, I'll pass it back to you there, Patricia. There's a lot to talk about with the costs. Yeah,
Well, time is money and all that, which is oh, you read so much into that, but we have to consider, how do we want to get through our day? How do we want to feel at the beginning and the end of our day? Do we have that
absolutely.
mid-afternoon slump? Do we fall asleep in front of the television? Do we have a little acid reflux after our evening meal or in the nighttime? Those sorts of things are not normal because it
Right.
happens to everybody, most everybody. You could certainly find five friends that suffer from the same things you do, makes it normal. Are you okay with that? If you're not okay with that, then you need to make some changes. And the
Absolutely.
changes, you trace it back, it's going to be what's on the end of your fork. That's where we have control. And I'm thinking about young families. I don't know what's going to happen with the children growing up today. We're seeing more and more diseases in younger and younger people. That's not normal. I don't like
No.
it. I
However,
taught what I taught
can I
sourdough
just,
bread class.
yeah.
I
Sorry,
taught
can I,
sou-
can I just can I just add before we go into sourdough bread? Um, it's become the new normal. So I just wanted to add that because that's a really important statement there because it isn't normal. So
It's not
yeah,
normal.
no,
No.
it isn't. No,
I
sorry,
think
go ahead.
millennials are
Sorry.
starting to recognize that, but my peer groups are just
Oh,
fed up and tired. But
yeah,
during lockdown, I taught sourdough bread online because people couldn't get to Michael's classes. And I ended up with
absolutely.
a bunch of Americans because it was on
Wow.
Zoom. Everyone was at home. So I'd have the mom, the dad, the kids, captive
Oh,
audience. We're on
wow.
Zoom. And one
Yeah.
particular family, we've become friends now, and I'll never forget them, but they had three young children. Each child had their own food sensitivity.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
feeding a family of five anyway, but now you've got three children with their own dietary recommendations or requirements.
Yeah.
But here we were with all the time in the world on our hands. It's like
Yeah.
when did we ever have that much time on our hands? Did we use it well? So
Hmm.
these children, the sourdough bread is one thing. The
Hmm.
sourdough crackers with the sourdough discard
Yeah.
are just phenomenal. So these children were learning how to make these crackers, and they could put their own toppings on nuts,
Oh, yeah.
seeds, dried fruits, whatever. They had no reactions to it to begin with,
Hmm.
but then they could make it their own, and they were thriving. They were thriving on the bread. That was very eye-opening and rewarding for me.
Yeah.
So, the recipes in my book, the sauerkraut, I suggest in my video, uh, getting your kids together. So many things you can talk about while you're chopping. Don't put in your earphones and everybody's sitting there distracted. Talk. Show them
Yeah.
good knife safety, how to chop, where to put their fingers, and all that stuff. Talk about gut health.
Yeah.
Um, and I recommend downloading the Bristol Poo Chart, hang it in your
Ah,
poo, and get
yeah.
the kids talking about their gut health. We didn't
Yeah.
talk about that when I was
Absolutely.
growing up. And I was diagnosed with
Um,
IBS and ulcerative colitis at 15.
oh,
That would
wow.
have, but I've learned so much that dictated a lot of my journey, my learning.
Hmm.
So, a lot of these recipes can be incorporated with the family.
Hmm.
How rewarding is that?
I see also you speak about in your recipes, which sound absolutely tasty, is the OT biscuits, because I've obviously tried the muffin, but they sound amazing. So, and that's the sourdough OT biscuits. So, I mean, look
Well,
at that,
you
and
get
that interest that it would have from young people to make them. Yeah.
make their own. So it's just
Mhm.
naked oats because they're 25% higher in protein
Right. Right. Right.
and
Yeah.
they're not sprayed, obviously. And then just
Yeah.
whiz them up a little bit with a stick blender. So they're a coarse flour, coarse
Yeah.
and chunky. And
Mhm.
then you add some sourdough starter as the binder, which also
Oh,
adds the flavor.
right.
And you could put some dried fruit in there, um, nuts or seeds, and then shape them and bake them. They're very portable, very nutritious.
Brilliant.
You could
Oh,
drizzle them with some good quality dark chocolate.
brilliant. Good
So much,
quality.
you know,
Yeah.
I think most or
Mhm.
all of these recipes are very versatile.
Yeah.
Follow the
They sound
recipe and then change
tasty.
it up.
Absolutely. And I hope that as people are listening to what you're sharing here today with us, it's just so tasty. That's the thing. It's very tasty, but the real taste of how something should be. You mentioned chocolate. I mean, these days, there's a particular company that has put a particular oil in the chocolate these days now, which I've heard. It's what we don't know what things are tasting like anymore. It's not normal. So it's remembering it and remembering it's okay to have tastes of bitterness in your mouth. It these days everything's about sweet, there's a lot of sweetness, but remember there's that having your palate get used to bitter taste, sour taste, the sauerkraut, all of that. It's I love it. Absolutely love it. Yeah.
Variety, a lot to be
Yeah.
said for variety.
Absolutely, exactly. So, I mean, even I know you've spoken. Well, there's so much there, Patricia, with your chapters. But please do obviously have a look into having a good read of her book, and everyone who's viewing today. And there's so much more that's talked about with hydration, dehydration. All these sort of things. Not only what is at the end of the fork, what is actually in your cup. So there's a lot there that Patricia has covered throughout her book. So, Patricia, I would love to talk so much more. There's so many more questions, but I think we are coming to an end for our time today. But I really, really look forward to actually seeing you soon. And I'm so happy for you that really glad that you've written your book. And again, I encourage everyone to have a good read. So, anything last you'd like to say there, Patricia?
Well, I would say broccoli is not broccoli unless it's not sprayed. And
Yeah.
don't shop by price. Look for those organic labels to start with.
Yeah.
because the mainstream shops near me are having more and more organic options. Four of them. Whoops,
Yeah.
oops, just fell off. Uh, more and more options, and that's four major supermarkets in my area, all
Okay.
having more and more organic options. And when I
Mhm.
see the bin with the organic chucked in, I turn them all, stand them up so you can see that organic label. And there may be one or two, and there might be six with the rubbish broccoli. My daughter's sausage dog only eats organic broccoli. He loves it. He won't eat the other stuff. I'm going to
Well,
leave you with
animals
this.
know.
I'm going to leave you with
Yes.
this. You,
Mhm.
I've interviewed Dr. Stephanie Seneff, Toxic Legacy there. I've interviewed her 3 times.
Wow. Wow.
She's the world's foremost authority on glyphosate. And
Yeah.
we end the interviews by me asking her, Stephanie, how can we get glyphosate out of our food? And she says, you cannot. You cannot wash it off. You cannot peel it off. You cannot cook it out. It's inside, as I
Yeah.
described
Yeah.
earlier. So, don't shop by price. Pay now or pay later.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Eat nutrient dense. Eat less. Save money. Feel better.
And have fun.
Have
And
fun.
have
Have fun
fun.
with your food.
Back to cooking as a family, and and engage with people. Let's get our communities going again, and we can share recipes. Thank you so much,
My
Patricia. What you
pleasure.
shared there is amazing, and especially what you've said at the end, which would take a whole huge conversation on its own, but that's exactly it. Once it's in, it's in. So thank you for bringing that all to our awareness. And I'm going to say goodbye for now. Thank you so much, Patricia. And
Thank you,
you again.
Snetha.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye-bye. Stop recording.